What is going on, you guys? Zach here from PremiumBeat.com. I'm so excited for today's episode because we are talking about J-cuts. J-cuts are like my favorite editing audio cue to transition from scene to scene. If you don't know what a J-cut is, here's a quick example of one. Right now, you're witnessing J-cut audio. So essentially what J-cut audio is taking two scenes. You have scene 2 and scene 1. Scene 2 audio starts to bleed into scene 1 before scene 1 finishes. That way, when you play the film, you get something that looks like this. And now that you see it, you're like, oh yeah, I've totally seen that. And yes, you have. Movies and television utilize J-cuts all the time. So now that you guys have a bit of a grasp of what J-cuts are, I'm gonna be showing you guys two different techniques on how to do this trick for your stuff. So the first way is just using in-camera audio. So basically just taking whatever the raw audio you have from scene 1 and scene 2, and then basically doing that transition over. And then the second way I'm gonna be showing you is utilizing sound effects. Now sound effects, you can go super crazy, and I could go on and on about it, but I'm gonna show you the basics of those two different techniques so then when you go onto your project, you can use this instead of maybe a visual cue. So for our first shot, what we're gonna do is transition these two scenes together. So essentially it's just them climbing.
He blends in perfect.
So let's just see what a J-cut does to make this scene transition better. So I'm gonna take my second scene or my second shot and I'm gonna drag the audio down here. Then I'm just gonna drag this down onto the first track so I can drag it below. Then I'm gonna just slide this over about 24 frames, so 1 second, into the prior shot. And now if we press play, let's hear how it plays out from here.
He blends in perfect.
So now we have that audio bleeding in a little bit before. Let's see what happens if we move it over by 48 frames or 2 seconds. So that's it at 48 frames over. Let's play it out.
He blends in perfect.
And that really depends on your project. J-cuts can go up to 3 to 5 seconds into the next shot.
He blends in perfect.
So now let's go into our second one. Now this one is utilizing sound effects for it. So here's our scene playing out. We have exterior wide of forest, then we cut to guy chopping into wood. That's our shot. And then we go into feet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna utilize the sound of the axe going in. Now this is doing sound effects. So what I'm gonna do is find my axe shot. Now I've lined up the audio here, and basically I'm gonna take this audio. So let's make an in point, out point, and I'm gonna grab the audio and put it in and line it up with where the axe hits. So boom, axe hits there. We're gonna make the audio hit right there. And since the axe is in slow motion, just for fun, I'm just gonna change the speed and duration down to about 70%. That's gonna make the axe sound a little bit more bassier. Then what I'm gonna do to make this a J-cut is I'm actually gonna slide the audio of the axe in. I'm gonna duplicate it by holding my Alt key, and I'm gonna duplicate the track and slide it over into the shot prior, so that when we see this opening wide shot, we're gonna hear the axe before we go into the next shot. So let's kind of make this a little bit more thick. So what happens if we slow this down to about 60? And then for the second one, why don't we slow it down to about, I don't know, 30, so that the sound and bass pitch changes. And since we're changing the speed of it, the hit is gonna change. So let's slide it over so it lines up. We'll line up the peaking mark. And now let's play it out and see how it plays. And now let's take that hitting mark and let's slide it over, duplicating it, and let's make the hit actually happen on this shot. So we're gonna J-cut that axe hit into the next shot. So now instead of J-cutting into a scene, we're gonna J-cut out of a scene. And now if we play them together, now that's just the basics of doing J-cuts. Now I played around with the scene a little bit more, added some more layers, and this is what I got out of it. So I went into this and made it a little bit thicker, adding in sounds of the forest J cutting in and adding in the sounds of like the axe reverberating, even the sounds of like birds chirping before going into the next scene. And you can do that with ambience. Ambience is a really fun one to play with as well. Rather than it being a distinct audio cue, you can utilize the sound of like trees, forests, and maybe like bugs or birds and have that bleed into the shot before it actually happens. Check this out with like a waterfall. So with that in mind, go explore your whole J-cutting experience. It is super duper fun to play around with. I highly recommend you guys giving it a shot because it can make your transitions in your scenes way better, and it's using something different other than a visual cue. Thanks again, I'm Zach here from PremiumBeat. If you guys like this tutorial, give me a thumbs up, give me a comment. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. And yeah, I will see you guys in another tutorial. Thanks for watching.